All right, what's up, guys? Today, what we're going to do is at the meetup in New York, there were several arena tournaments. There was a Fighter, Conqueror, and a Guardian tournament, and I participated in the Conqueror tournament since this account has never got Guardian, and I won. So, kind of cool. Haven't really done a tournament type thing in a while, so it's kind of fun. So I thought what I'd do is walk you through the matches with all my opponents and kind of discuss my thought, strategy, and what ended up working out for me. So, let's take a look. Got it pre-recorded here so that I can speed it up and slow it down as needed, which I think is pretty important in RTA type rematches. I mean, doing it live is kind of fun, but I like being able to pause at the pick ban and talk things over. So that's what we're going to do. Let's just wait for these to finish up here. Okay, so the format of the tournament was best of 1 for like the first 2 rounds, and then the next round was best of 3, and the final round was best of 5. So this is win or go home. I couldn't see my opponent's score going into the match, but you know, when you spectate or you go back and replay, you can kind of see what score they were. So this first opponent was C2, and he led with Sierra. And what I really like, and I know it's a ridiculous luxury, is I like having the flexibility of LD units that are almost universally used or can be used anywhere, because it lets you postpone your counterplay for quite a while. So that was kind of nice. So he picked Sierra. I just kind of punted. I could have committed to a strategy, but that would have let him come back and counter. So I decided to just go with the 2 LDs, and I try to use these every match because it's my best Violent and my best Swift set. So if I get my 2 best sets into every match, then at least my best runes are seeing play. You know, like you hate to leave your best runes on the bench, your best Despair set or anything. So that's kind of why I pick like that. He then went Moore and Lulu, which Lulu's been slightly nerfed, but still a strong healing pick. So to me, that says he's willing to play Sustain with me because I've already indicated Sustain with Yanhong. He did not commit to a aggressive nuke him down strategy or even really a control strategy. He has 3 non-control units and no nuke it down. So that means I feel comfortable continuing into a Bruiser strategy. And I feel like with my start, I'm in a better position than him for Bruiser. Moore, I think, is particularly bad for Bruiser. He's good for other things, but not for Bruiser. So I brought, in my mind, 2 of the best Bruisers that would sort of mess him up. The Diana in his AoEs with the water unit, that'll protect against that. And then the Molly protects against the crits from Sierra, provides me a second reliable heal, even if controlled. He responded with Kinky and Molong, so he's gone all in on the strategy, and a nice little counter to my Molly with the Molong. And then the Kinky is something I'm not currently displaying a way to deal with, which is super smart, because if I put down a solution, he'll just ban it, and he knows the Kinky's getting through. So in my mind, as soon as he lays this down, I'm probably banning the Kinky and picking something to mess with his comp. So I picked a Chung Peng. I think a Chung Peng deals with his 4 units minus Kinky pretty well. But actually, I ended up regretting that pick. Let's take a look. Let's see here. Here we go. Speed it up a little bit. So I banned the Kinky, he banned the Chung Peng. I'm kind of glad he banned the Chung Peng because in retrospect, my Chung Peng's runes are probably the worst runes of all these, and I'm not confident in their quality. It's sort of a fast Swift set that doesn't have a lot of tank, so Chung Peng would be the weak link in this Bruiser team. So I'm kind of glad he's not here. But, I mean, so is he, because that's what he would have used. So Diana takes 1 turn. Very important. There's an extra turn for Yanhong. We boost into the Han to try to get an instant kill. I mean, that's pretty solid utility for this team, being able to boost into the Han to deal with Bruiser threats. Because the biggest problem with Bruisers is they hang around and they catch heals. And if you can eliminate them 1 turn, which I feel like Han and to a lesser extent Diana are very good at, it makes for a nice Bruiser team. So we're already up 4-3, and we're just putting pressure into the way that Molong deals damage. The more damage I can deal to Molong, the less of a threat he is, and then he literally has no threats. So that's my plan there. We're just boosting, we're just taking turns, we're cycling kind of, we're just trying to eliminate the 1 threat on the field. Yanhong does some pretty good damage there with her artifacts. And now we're definitely done, because it's 4-2. But we'll play it out, we'll speed it up. Can we go faster? 3x. This is almost unwatchable. Let's go back to 2. Alright, next match is against Crossed, who I've played in several matches before, both in the ladder and in previous like online meetups that Summoners War has. So if you haven't been to an online meetup, definitely go to an online meetup. They're like every month. They're really fun. So I've played Cross before. I don't really remember what he plays, so I just decided to play it safe. And again, this is my second winner-take-all, 1 round, 1 win kind of deal. So this is a much different draft in the final 60% of my draft, but the same 40% is pretty good almost all the time. So he first picked Sierra, which If I'm smart, I start pushing speed into, but I tend to delay it just a little bit, and sometimes it messes me up. So he picks Sierra, I pick my normal 2 LDs, Yan Hong Han. He picks Oki and Barbara, which to me is a Barbara's going to give you turn 1, and Oki's going to punish you when she gets turn 1. So I need to either think, can I bruiser through that, or can I try to out-accelerate it? And so I'm going to try out-accelerating it. I pick a 33 lead, which I like the water against everything except Sierra. The one thing I don't like about the water there is into Oki, he's not as potent because Oki will reset him almost always. But I pick a reset of my own in Sekhmet, who is recently buffed and is by far my fastest unit. So I'm now threatening, you think you're going first, you are not. That's what I'm saying here. He follows up, we'll get the bans here, he follows up with the Carnal Chiwu, which is just doubling down on fire. I mean, he's showing 3 fire units, so I feel really confident with a water unit no matter what. So I take the Moor, which I think is an obvious last pick, because it gives me speed lead. If he tries to interfere with my speed lead, it gives me first turn. Or if he tries to interfere with my turn 1, it gives me another turn 1. So really, really solid. I'm pretty happy with any combination of these 4 units. So he bans the Han, which is pretty common. I get to play with my Yan Hong most of the time, which is nice. It's really nice. You just have to plan around playing with her. And he's got 3 fire, no sustain. So I'm like, okay, he has no sustain. Let's see if we can't burn it down. We banned the Barbara just because she interferes with my fire and is the only unit I can see that can give him turn 1. Like, Barbara could outboost not on more, and he could take a full turn 1. Whereas if he wants a turn 1 otherwise, it has to come from Chiwu, and that'll give me back turn 1, I guess. Turn 1A with more. So we Charming Voice on the Carnal, get it, and I'm feeling really, really good. Don't get the strip on the Oki, so we're going to have to deal with that. But we deal pretty good damage. That's I would say, a squishy damage dealing Oki based on the amount of damage he took there. And so now he go ahead and he resets a Pisama, which I think is really smart. Misses the bomb, which is unfortunate. Pisama gets 1 more turn. And, oh, I think that was a misplay. There you go. I think hitting the Pisama is smart because you don't know what Yanhong's going to do. And so now we're 3 on 3. I've got sustain, he doesn't, and I feel like I have the debuff advantage. The only real problem is going to be if Sierra goes nuts or if that Carnal goes nuts. So we're going all in on the Sierra just to eliminate it quickly. We get it. And now I think we're solid because we get the other reset and we're just done here. Like, this is over. So went really well. Going turn 1, getting a lot of disruption and some decent damage in. So that's what happened there. All right, now we've got a best 2 of 3 against Zine Vance. So we'll talk about the picks here in just a second. So, interestingly, this match, I do not go Yan Hong Han at all, which is the first time I've done that. So, kind of different. I start Sierra because I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't like having to play reactive to possible turn 1 stuff, and I think Sierra is the best turn 1 enabler. She doesn't do the strip or anything, but she gives you the most flexibility if you need to pivot into bruiser or whatever. She's not perfect in a bruiser, or as a bruiser, but she's better than like Chiwu or Jamair or any other speed options that you could take turn 1. He goes with Chiwu and Changpeng, which to me says, hey, guess what? I'm going first. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to go first. I'm going to completely disrupt and control you. That's what that says to me. I follow with Moor and Sekhmet, which says, no, I'm going first. At least the Sekhmet does. The Moor threatens it possibly if he's on Swift. And there's a couple ways to still go first, even if the Moor is on Despair. If the Heigang or the Chiwu tries to strip, then in theory I'll get to go. He goes with Heigang Oki, and I follow up with Juno Molly as a good, all right, I'm going full sustain. You're not showing any sustain. I think Juno and Molly can hold off what you're going to do. And he goes to Jamair and says, I'm going to do everything twice. And I say, you are only going to Oki twice. You're not going to Changpeng twice. Because he's getting speed either way. It leaves his 2 strippers there, the Heigang and the Wuso, which are good, but not game-breakingly disruptive, which I would say that Changpeng can be. Oki takes a little longer to completely ruin a game for someone else, but Changpeng can ruin a game really, really quickly, and I need my skill ups. So we ban the Changpeng, he bans the Juno, seeing that he's going to have a lot of debuffs. I'm okay with that. That gives me the sustain advantage, and I'd say pretty good damage in the Sierra. Just a matter of getting it done. All right, so we strip, turn 1 the Oki. Why did I do that? I know the Jamair is going to cleanse, but that gives me a 1 turn free of Oki, which in theory I can get some stuff done in that 1 turn. The other thing is that Sekhmet's skill 3 cools down by each buff that she steals, and she stole 1 buff, so her cooldown is now 1 lower, so in theory she'll get it back up before Oki does. So I also know that Jamair's probably going to reset it, but in theory I can just deal with that. So pretty good damage there on the AoE, which shows me he's not super tanky, which is great for my tanky strategy. So I am definitely glanced. Really good damage off the Jamair, which to me is a signal to target the Jamair. Like, if a Jamire could do that much damage to my Sierra, I need to go all in on it because it's squishy and it's on crit damage attack. Or something like that. And I think that thought proved correct when I hit it with just Sierra skill 1 and it took quite a bit of damage. Now I'm just trying to get a turn so that I can finish this thing off and start getting stuff done. So we get 1 kill. Now we're feeling great. We'll just start debuffing the Oki and we'll just tank it out. So miss the Moor, which is fine. Nice violent proc for me. And I'm just all in on the Oki, even though it's off element, because it's the only threat left. I can deal with everything else. The Oki is the only thing that can really mess me up. So we get it killed, and then we're on to round 2. And I think looking at it like that, like if you have to sacrifice like the correct play for more impactful plays, sometimes it's worth it. And it's a risk, but also leaving Oki up and doing marginal damage to Hagang is, I think, a bigger risk. All right, so let's talk about this draft. So I know he wanted to go fast, so I took the Sierra this time, again, just to lock it in. He countered with exactly what I picked last time, which I think is fun. He did the Moor and Sekhmet, which I'm like, man, that's my move. What are you doing here? Take exactly what I had. So I'm like, okay, so Sekhmet is going to basically be free heals for Juno and not a serious threat. So I pick Juno, and I'll pick Molly because if you glance, your debuffs don't land. So Molly's a secondary anti-debuff unit. I mean, Juno's the one, but Molly's in there too, and also gives me sustain, which he did not show a huge commitment to sustain last time. So, and I was able to out-sustain with just the Molly, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can just out-sustain again and win a match, right? So that's the thought there. He counters with the Oki Molong, which is interesting because the Molong is not the same as everything else. Everything else you see is strip it all, control it up, let's go. Molong is, I'm going to do somehow enough damage and then finish with Molong. And then Hagang is his final pick after I pick my LDs, which he looks at those and he says, nothing's changed. I'm going to go with Hagang. But I don't know about his position exactly because, I don't know. That was what I was thinking. I was like, if I can just get rid of the Molong, that gets rid of the constant defense break, which Sekhmet's is less often, and it gets rid of the big kill potential, which will, in theory, let my sustain and heal things. So that's my thought there. He bans the Sierra, which I was a little surprised about. I think that he may have thought I had a Swift Yonhong, which a lot of people do, and a Swift Yonhong with Speed Lead would probably give me turn 1, which would be bad for him. But it's not. So kind of lucked out there, and then I got the big old tanky sustain team. Took resist, he took speed, obviously. The resist lead on Yonhong is super nice because I rune units to her, so my Lulu and my Molly are 100% resist with Yonhong. I don't have to rune them up all the way because in theory they're going to leave me 2 healers more often than ban one of the healers, especially with Han there. I found that to be kind of the case. So he starts off with a reset on Yonhong, gets it, very nice. Full glance with the Hagang. Yonhong gets a turn, misses it, he resets the Han. He's looking pretty sharp here, it's just the problem is the sustain, you know? So I heal up with everything, and I'm at full health, and he's now at half health on one of his units. He misses the defense break there, which is really unfortunate. Gets the full stun, but in theory I'll just kind of cleanse. Getting the defense, or the heal block on the Han was really, really nice, and kind of opened him up to a possible kill. I'm not sure why skill 1 there. I think on Juno, I think he was just trying to reduce attack bar so I wouldn't get the heal as quickly. But he accidentally got the stun as well. All right, still rocking into that. I still can't heal it, so I think he's absolutely playing it correctly. Another big stun, another glance. I'm waiting for Molly's cleanse, right? That's the only thing that can save the Han. But even if the Han's dying, we killed his main source of threat, and now we're starting to work on the Sekhmet. And we're feeling really good about it, because we know it's super fast, and it took a ton of damage from Yonhong. So even if the Han does not live, even if the Han doesn't live, we're still ahead. The Han's health pool is what let us pull ahead. If he was a squishier unit, he would have been dealt with quicker, and the opponent would have moved on. But since he was tanky enough, he tanked the damage to let me cycle through and get ahead. Because Juno's going to get ahead on terms of turns. Yonhong's going to get the whole team ahead in terms of turns. And eventually you just take more turns than them. It's kind of like Ragdoll if Ragdoll was broken up into several units. Like Juno is like a mini self-Ragdoll, right? And Yonhong is sort of a bursty Ragdoll. She's not going to give everybody 10%, but she'll give 2 people 100% every so often. All right, so we're on to the final round. This is a best of 5, which I think it was going to be a best of 3 at first, but we finished quickly, so it was said that it was going to be a best of 5, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be hard, because this guy's Zed has not lost to anyone either. It's a full elimination, so we started at 16, we're down to 2. So I don't know what I'm going to deal with here, but I'm like, okay, well, we'll just see how it goes. And now I know that he's higher ranked than me on the ladder. I did not know that. So my first challenger, who is higher ranked than I am, he first picked Moor, And I said, okay, got it, speed. I'm going to need some speed. So I went Sierra Yonhong, which threatens speed with the Yonhong, but mine is not quite as fast as others. He went Chiwu Juno, which I think the Chiwu is solid. It further reinforces his speed. It's the right element against the Sierra. The Juno, I don't feel like I'm showing a ton of threat on the Juno just yet in terms of what Juno will get from healing, other than so he's just using Juno to try to kill the Sierra and survive. And maybe discourage future picks that would play well into something other than the Juno. Kind of my thought there. So I saw those three, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go Han Molly, not commit to an element, go with my strongest damage dealer, go with a secondary stripper and a healer and stuff like that, and go full sustain, basically. He finishes up with Molong and Icarus, and I went with the Sekhmet. In my mind, the Sekhmet is, if paired with Sierra, goes first. If Sierra's banned, we'll get to go and reset something through the Wusa stuff. It doesn't matter what Wusa does. So I can, in theory, if I get Sekhmet, the threat of his double kill is a little lessened. So that was kind of my thinking there. I ultimately banned the Molong because of it being the only defense break. I worry a little bit about that. I think the Icarus wouldn't have been a horrible ban because it's half of the total sustain. We'll call Wusa and Icarus the sustain. But if I can reset the Icarus, which, maybe I can, maybe I can't, then in theory I won't have to deal with constant defense breaks from Molong there. And I did get my double sustain with the Han, which is generally all the damage I need, and the Sekhmet to help control and provide additional debuffs. Let's go. Okay, so we Charming Voice the Icarus, and we're feeling good. We're going to keep pouring it into the Icarus, because in my mind, that's his big source of damage. And I can't let it get a skill 3 off, because it'll heal from everything I do. So I'm going all in, get the strip, which is really nice. He gets the stun on the Han, which is pretty nice, and the attack debuff. He's really working the Han pretty good. But we boost into the Molly so that we can cleanse the Han, heal the Han, and in theory, kill the Icarus. So we just skill 1, kill the Icarus. And we're feeling really good here, because now we're up 4-3, and his biggest damage dealer is done. He's couldn't do some decent burst damage with the Wusa and some okay damage with the Moor, but I'm not too worried about it with my sustain. So we're going to burn down the Wusa next, and then we're just going to go from there looking for opportunities. I'm basically trying not to get the more extra turns. So I'm trying not to hit the Moor. I'll leave him until last. Like, if he gets an extra turn every so often against 4 of my units or 3, that's better than letting him tank for his other unit, which is kind of what I thought he was doing with the Juno. So that's why I did that there. Left the Moor for last, and that was it. All right, match 2 with Zed. So now we're getting into it, where we're messing with each other, right? So we'll talk about it here at the end. All right, so I first picked Molong, because that's what I banned last time. And in my mind, if his most threatening unit to me is a unit that I can take and I don't have to ban, that makes my life easier. So that was my thought there. He took the Icarus again and the Lulu, which makes sense. He's like, okay, I guess I'm playing Bruiser now. And so he's fully committing to Bruiser. I followed up with the Juno, his pick, and I thought, a good strip against the Lulu. So we'll kind of see there. And the Yonhong, of course. He goes with the Wind Bison, the resetting, provoking thing, and the Moor. He throws out a Speedly because he sees I have a fire, which is not a bad idea. And I follow up with the Han and Molly to give myself full sustain, and he finishes up with a Tessarion, which I banned because the Tessarion can mess up lots of things in my team, and I don't want that. And he hits really hard, and he takes lots of turns, and I'm like, I can out-sustain the rest of it. I don't know if I can deal with the Tessarion messing with me. So he bans the Han, which I think is wise, because that's my biggest source of damage. Though the Molong Molly is not exactly nothing, but it takes a little longer. So he resets the Molong, which I think is super smart. He does not skill 3 right away. So my goal is to disrupt this Icarus if I can, or at the very least, make it unappealing to skill 3 me. So we get the nice shield there. He's thinking about it. Doesn't do it. Does the heal. I boost into the Molly so that everybody gets heals. And I just keep pouring into the Icarus. If I can get him in Molong range, I win, right? That's my plan. I got to obviously get the Molong skills up and all that good stuff, but that's my goal. Get something in Molong range. Nice defense break. That's the thing that makes Molong so good. I'm like, fine, I'll go after something else. I can at least keep him on his toes, All right, so we shield the Yonhong. Get the nice stun there. It looks close. Oh, he tries, but not quite. The Molong's too sturdy. So now his skills are gone, and the timer is clicked up, and now the Icarus is in big, big trouble. So he had a little window. It just wasn't quite enough, and that's what sealed the fate of his team. Like, it would have been 4-3 the other way. Instead, I rebounded, and it was 4-3 my way. And then my sustain can do decent damage, and the Juno can do tons of damage. So I feel very confident in nuking down this Wind Bison with the Juno. All right, match point. It's best of 5. So this is our final match. Well, spoilers. This is our final match. and then we'll talk about it here at the end. All right, so the draft. He started off with a Moore again, which I think is a really comfortable way for him to play, is my guess. His playstyle kind of lends itself to turn 1E, but he also has a nice pivot into Bruiser, single target kill Bruiser. So he takes that. Then I take both of the Bruiser units this time because I'm like, hey, you wanted one last time. I wanted one the other time. I'll take them both. So I take Icarus and Molong. He follows up with Wusa and the Resetter guy again. I go with my LDs because I see no problems with them being in here. The Yonhong will give me another strip. The only other strip I'm showing is the kind of strip of Molong, which is like, eh. And he goes with the Oki and the Bomber as the last pick, which I'm like, oh, that's pretty smart, the Bomber. Because I don't feel comfortable dealing with it. I have no real way to deal with it. But, you know, I'm like, okay, well, I'll pick a Diana, and if he picks the Bomber, in theory, I can outcycle, I can strip, I can somewhat mitigate what he's going to try to do. At least gives me an option, and it's great and everything against Oki, right? So I end up banning the Bomber, because I was like, I just can't deal with it. He bans Diana, which I think he sees kind of what I see, and this is what we've got. I've got the most sustain in Yonhong, but he has reset, double reset, and he has sustain from the Wusa. He's a little light on damage, I think, so if he can't control the way I think he wants to, I think the damage deficit is going to end up costing him. Gets no strips, which I think now is that's the danger of Moore, right? Like, you can't rely on him to turn 1 get strips. That's why a lot of people run him on Despair. Because if he doesn't get strips, what has he done? He's done nothing the entire match. He's like Jogun missing the trap. So he does pretty good damage with the Wusa skill 2, which now does damage. He resets the Molong, so he's looking in pretty good shape. Because then he resets the Icarus. He's got Molong and Icarus both reset. I mean, that's where I would want to be if I was in his position, right? But not the Han. So the Han starts pushing with skill 3. We feel like all we got to do is a little bit of damage and we win, right? There's no sustain on his side. All we got to do is tank our own damage and do some damage on our own. Yonhong not being reset is also a problem. Like, that's a big problem because now a lot of his hard work is gone and they're just going to keep going. Yonhong does a bunch of damage on her own. We feel like that's enough for a kill with the Oki. And now we're moving on to problem number 2, which is the resetting wind unit. So we're just going to go all in on that and sustain. That's the plan. And what makes Han so great is that he can do enough damage for an entire team by himself in some situations. So you can rely on him more than you could a Molong, or more than you could an Icarus, because they can do 50% of the damage, roughly, that you need, but not quite enough. So that's what makes the Han great here. So I go all in on the Wind Bison, and I end up winning. We then played some fun matches with Craig. If you don't know Craig, you should follow Craig. Craig's great. So yeah, it was a really good tournament. I had not had the chance to sort of test my tournament skills in a long, long time. I play some occasionally, but that was kind of nice. And being only against Conqueror players, I think, helped too, because if there were Guardians in there, I'd have no chance. Like, the level of difference between like most of the Guardian bracket and my account is low, or is high. The amount of difference is high. I can hang with the lower end Guardians, but I have no chance against the higher end Guardians. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Just kind of talking through the plan, the thought process, why I picked what I did. If it helped you, great. You know, leave a like or whatever. And if it didn't, I guess leave a dislike. I don't know. That's sort of sad, but that makes sense to me. So anyway, I will catch you on the next video. Take care, everybody.